today's discussion. What happened to parody movies? Soto, we've been talking about parodies from our childhood and stuff like that, compared to
Mhm.
where they've been now. So my question to you
Yeah.
before we kind of dive deep into this, why is this the topic you want to talk about today?
I just feel that, and in the ocean of movies that I saw last year, there were a couple in there that kind of reminded me of the same feeling that I had when I was younger, and really it just came down to what happened to silly movies. Like what happened to sitting down and putting on a movie that you knew wasn't going to be serious and that you knew was going to be a joke a minute and you didn't have to think. All you were going to do is laugh. Like what happened to that genre? I have a couple of different ideas, but again, I just found myself just kind of craving that same kind of experience where it doesn't always have to be so serious. And so I kind of have an idea of where it went wrong. And I'm wondering, in your thoughts, kind of what started heading this downhill to a point where, parody films or silly movies just, kind of got out of the norm. Like, did we all collectively grow up?
No. Well, yes, we did all collectively grow up. That is true. I mean, no matter what, we're
Some of
getting older,
us.
but that's not the reason, in my opinion,
Mhm.
what happened to parody movies. I feel like there's two good answers to this. And one of, just the generic times have changed. We talked about like
Mhm.
80s and 90s films getting away with a lot more than you can nowadays. But that's not to say that the movies in 2000s didn't get away with some shit, because I kind of looked up parody films in general. And then I see the trend. I see where I feel that parody movies died, or I shouldn't say died, just got very stale. Because if you remember in the year 2000, the movie Scary Movie came out. Now, to me, the first Scary
Yes.
Movie actually was freaking classic. I loved it.
Oh,
It was an R rated parody, which I
yes.
don't think really has been done even before or since. The first two Scary Movies were R, then they kind of fell into the PG-13 era.
Hmm.
But Scream just finished up its trilogy, and Scream was on top of the mountain then. Everyone loved it, rewrote horror. So it was the perfect timing to have this kind of parody movie. And you got the Wayans brothers, which to me, again, me personally, and I'm sure a lot of others, they're hilarious. When they're on point, they can be hilarious. Sometimes it
Hmm.
can be overwhelming, but in Scary Movie, I loved it. I still remember a few scenes. I'm not going to remember the full movie because it has been a long time since I've seen it. But Soto, let me tell you the movies that came out in the 2000s. And this, you don't even need to say anything. So, first of all, also in like 2000, there was like 2001 A Space Travesty with Leslie Nielsen.
My
Shriek, If
God.
You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. Then
Yes.
it, so, but then
I
2001,
remember.
this is the last, I think, parody movie which I enjoyed from this time. Not another teen movie. I actually found it funny. Chris Evans, his first starring role, it made
Yeah.
fun of 90s
Hmm.
teen movies, even the 80s. I'm not going to put it like at the top, but it was enjoyable. But Soda, now get ready. I'm going to rattle off so many. My Big Fat Independent Movie, Date Movie, Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans, Disaster Movie, Superhero
Oh
Movie,
my God.
Extreme Movie,
Oh my God.
Stan
Right.
Helsing, the 41-year-old virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall and felt super bad, 30 Nights of
Oh my
Paranormal
God.
Activity with the Devil Inside Me. Or excuse
Oh,
me, inside the dragon girl with the dragon tattoo. I'm sorry. And that's just from 2000 to 2010, Soto. I'm not even going to get what was in the, because there was
oh
just so many.
God.
So what Scary Movie started, even though the
Hmm.
first one was great, and I think I laughed at the second one, I think I fell off at the third, and maybe just again PG-13 or just the same old shtick. It
Yeah.
created these. Let's just write it quickly in the moment. Let's just put these out again and again without any really train of thought. So Soda, I know I kind of pulled up randomly Epic Movie. I know I saw it. I don't remember shit. On
I don't remember that.
Wikipedia, this is
Mhm.
what Epic Movie parodies. This is going to be a mouthful. Cloverfield, Twister, Kingdom of Crystal Skull, 10,000 BC, American Gladiators, My Super Sweet 16, Armageddon, Juno, Enchanted, High School Musical, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Kung Fu Panda, Dark Knight, WWE, Incredible Hulk, Step Up 2, Iron Man, Hellboy 2, Sex and the City, Hancock, Superbad, Night at the Museum, Head On Commercial, World Trade Center, The Love Guru, Hannah Montana, Beowulf, Speed Racer, The Shining, I Am Legend, The Day After Tomorrow, Jumper, The Clone Wars, No Country for Old Men, Wanted, The Matrix Revolutions, Chronicles of Narnia, Inconvenient Truth, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and Get Smart. All that in one fucking movie. That's a fucking mess, Soto.
That is that. I mean, dude,
That
you just
is
sounded
a
like
mess. I sound like the Micro Machines guy, yes. You know,
yeah.
but
Oh
I
my
think
god,
that's my point.
it's rated 2% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Because there was just no, they just
Two
spit it
percent.
out again and again. And I think because of the success of Scary Movie, they're like, let's just, and again, not another teen movie. I think did okay. They're like, oh, superhero movies, let's do that. Does that? And they're just like, let's just throw them out. Who cares? They're cheap to make. It just killed it.
Yeah.
I think it killed the parodies because let me start with the story of how I got into this genre. And the very first parody movie I saw, and I know it was the first that I can kind of remember. My grandma used to take me to the National Mall every now and then, and we would go to the movies. And I remember seeing this trailer, and I asked her, I begged her, I wanted to see it. In 1987, I went to go see Spaceballs in the theater. She took me to that. Because I, like probably like you, huge Star Wars fan. That license was just big, and it was only 4 years difference between when Return of the Jedi came out and Spaceballs was released. And to me, I mean, I laughed as a kid. As I rewatched it later on in life, high school and stuff, I obviously got a lot more jokes that I probably didn't get at 9 years old. But I still remember that commercial, like, Daphne Zuniga, just her hair gets shot. She's like, "There, my hair, they shot my hair," and she just blows them all away. That was in the previews, and I laughed at that.
Oh, right.
And I'm just like, it was just amazing. And even though I love Star Wars, they found a way to make fun of it, which was still enjoyable. And I'm like, this is just great. And I think Mel Brooks is a genius. I kind of dubbed him like the king of parody. What were your first thoughts when you saw Spaceballs?
I mean, I thought Spaceballs was hilarious. I'm a big Rick Moranis fan. Obviously, I kind of grew up watching Rick Moranis movies because he was in Ghostbusters, which I love, and then obviously Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which was big for me when I was growing up. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when I watched Spaceballs at the age that I was, because I know you're a little bit older than I am, it wasn't as funny to me as it was when I started watching it when I was a little bit older. So when I started watching it when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old and rewatching it, it was way more funny. I think I just didn't kind of get it at the beginning. I did appreciate the Star Wars kind of aspect, but I don't think I was old enough to really sort of understand satire and that kind of stuff. But it's one of the movies that as I've grown up and I've watched the rest of my life, I find to be funny as hell. So, but I didn't have the same kind of reaction to it when it came out. I mean, what year did Spaceballs come out? And I tell you
1987.
yeah, I was 6 years old, so I had no real sense of irony. At 6 years old, I did develop a sense of irony. That is for sure. And once I did, then it was great. And I agree with you. I love Mel Brooks. We've talked about Robin Hood Men in Tights on Rotten Taste, and I think he's an absolute genius. Really funny, and I think this is great too. I think that I'm probably due for a rewatch for Spaceballs, especially ahead of what's coming up.
Yeah, I actually just rewatched it before this podcast, and again, I was just laughing at it, loving it. And yes, I mean, we talked
Andy.
Men in Tights, phenomenal. It took me a while to, because obviously he did a lot before I was born, so it took me a while to get to some of his other classics like Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. But to me, Spaceballs, I always felt was his best. And yeah, there's just so many jokes. The fact that he got George Lucas's permission, but the only thing that he was not allowed to do was to make like toys, any kind of merchandising off of this. Hence that whole scene. He even told you, George Lucas, like, can I just do this scene making fun of it because I have these funny ideas? And he said, okay. But that's why that scene is in it, because that was the only thing. Because like, well, I don't want people to mistake them for Star Wars toys, which whatever, that's fine.
Sure.
But still, just a classic scene. But you're right. You just said what's coming out. I think now 2027 is going to be the release date, and Spaceballs 2, whether they call it The Search for More Money, they better put that. They have.
It has to be. It was a promise that was made. It has to be. I will accept nothing less. If they don't do that, I will be slightly disappointed.
I would be too, but it will be it will be released about 40 years after the original. And I know Mel Brooks gave his blessing to Josh
God.
Gad. I know he's helped him work on it. I know Bill Pullman and Daphne Zuniga is returning. I think that's her name. And Rick
Yeah.
Moranis, out of all people, also returned
Yes.
because he left acting altogether just to take care of his family, who are now all
Yep.
grown. So when you first heard that Spaceballs 2 was official, because I know there's always been
Yeah.
rumors, what were your initial thoughts?
Now I thought it was kind of unnecessary because it's like, if there was going to be a Spaceballs 2, it should have been done a lot earlier, like in the mid 90s. I understand, obviously, Rick Moranis wouldn't have been available and everything. I get that. But I felt that that was when it should be done. Now everybody's mad old. And
Mm.
I guess it kind of does, when I think about it, reflect on Force Awakens when that comes on and Harrison Ford's all old and everything. So it does work. And then I also felt very sad for Mel Brooks because I think he's like 99 years old.
Yeah, something like that.
Or he's definitely in his 90s. So I hope he makes it. Um, but, I kind of was like, I've been so disappointed by this kind of shit. Like my whole life. We've talked about it the last 25, 30 years in movies. I mean, hell, even watching something silly like Happy Gilmore 2 this last year that we did, it's like we watched the sequel and it was pretty much just fan service for people who had watched the first one. Um, I kind of feel like that's what this will be. I mean, it has to be fan service
It better be fan
for the people
service.
that you're like, I paid, but there was no John Candy, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm open to it. I don't know if I would go to the theaters to see this. Uh, but I wasn't particularly excited because it's like I feel like Baseballs was great on its own, and yeah, it's good that they're making a second one. But I hope they don't. I hope they don't make it as cheesy as it could be. You know what I mean? I hope that it ends up being a little bit better, or maybe it does something a little bit more interesting. So, or I don't know, has a spin on it or something. I'm not sure. My expectations are low. That's all I say. I won't be mad at it if it's bad, but it would be nice if it surprised me.
So I will say this: I semi agree with you about when Spaceballs 2 should have been released. I know you said 90s. To me, the perfect time would have been early 2000s when the prequels were out. I
That's a good
feel
point.
like they could have done something there, especially with the joke,
Yeah,
or even
that's a really
sequels.
good
But
point.
like you hear it and you're just like, it's 40 years. That's a long
I
time. And
know.
did we need a sequel? But the only saving grace I have is the fact that Mel Brooks is behind this, that he's been working with Josh Gad, and he even told the story out there that Josh Gad called him up, kind of pitched the idea and says, "What do you think?" Because obviously he's got to get his permission. And Mel Brooks' response was like, "I've been waiting 30 some odd years for this phone call. So it's just someone to come up with the idea that they want to do it." So
Mhm.
I have hope because Mel Brooks is involved that this might push the envelope in a way that a lot of parody movies that I just rattled off in the 2000s could not do. And I feel with the talent involved, it's going to be smart and well done. Uh, and yes, fan service. The people like us who love the first one, who can just quote it, watch it, laugh at it. I don't know. I have hope. I'm not going to say it's going to be as good as there's no way it can be as good as the first because, like I said, there's no John Candy. It's a different era, but
Iconic, right?
I'm just having that hope in my heart that it's going to be.
Mhm.
Give me some laughs, but it's all about timing with parodies, and that's the thing. Like,
Yes. Mhm.
but I think when Spaceballs came out, that's what drew a lot of us in. Like, oh God, this is making fun of Star Wars, or kind of what is this? And now Star Wars in itself has become a joke because of the sequels. So I don't know.
Sure has.
We'll see. Like you, I probably won't rush to theaters to see it. Who knows? Depends on the day. I will see it.
Yeah.
I think we have to. Like, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, but even if I hear it's got bad reviews, I just need to see it with my own eyeballs. So I don't know. I mean,
Fair.
it's coming out. There's nothing more I can say. So I'm just holding out hope that it's going to be decent and I'll get a few laughs out of it. So I'll leave it at that. But I don't know.
All we can do.
It's all we can
Just
do.
hold on.
But let's
Mhm.
switch gears. So let me ask you. Because you said obviously you're a few years younger than me.
Yeah.
What movie did you see that made you fall in love with parody? Or what was the first silly film that you saw that's like, damn, I love these kind of movies?
Yeah. So really, to go, I mentioned that I had no sense of irony uh, to enjoy Spaceballs and what it was trying to do. And my mentality is more like I just like watching stupid shit happen in a movie that is just it's just really funny. Not necessarily like I don't have to really understand irony. It's just like it's just a bunch of gags, and it's gag after gag after gag over and over again, nonstop for the whole entire movie. And my first movie that I saw, and this movie came out in 1998, was and is the original Naked Gun, starring Leslie Nielsen.
Classic.
Now, I would come downstairs, and I remember just listening to my dad laughing his ass off watching this movie. And I'd be like, what is my father watching that is making him laugh so much? Because this is my dad. And it's like, you're a little kid, your dad is like your dad, but you don't really understand like what makes your dad laugh. And so I started, coming down and seeing what he was watching, because he would be watching it by himself. Like my mom had gone to bed, my sister's gone to bed, and I never could go to sleep as a kid. I'm a night person, so I'd come downstairs and I started sitting with him, and I started watching this with him, and I started really laughing at this, and especially, as a little kid watching one of the scenes where, I know this is controversial, but O.J. Simpson is in this movie, and he plays Nordberg, and he's one of the police officers here, and just the moment where like Norberg's like injured and he's like in a wheelchair and he starts like they accidentally forget that they have to like make sure that he's okay, and he falls backwards down some stairs while Lieutenant Frank Drebin, Leslie Nielsen, is talking to his partner, and then in the background you're seeing O.J. Simpson's character just basically go down the stairs and then just like eventually hit the wall, and they're at a baseball game.
Yep, I'm laughing
then,
just thinking about it.
And then O.J. Simpson just flips over into the air and he's got his cats and everything. But Leslie Nielsen keeps a straight face in all of this crap. And I started picking up like why this is really funny. And it was much more slapstick funny, I thought, than Spaceball was. And that's a language that I could understand. And to be honest, I still understand. I just thought it was just really fun. It didn't take itself seriously, right? And then he's the umpire and he's making a fool out of himself, but it's like Leslie Nielsen, and he does the same thing in Airplane as well. He's just playing it so straight, and it's so nonsensical and slapstick, and it comes across, it makes it even funnier. I don't think that anybody could have done as good a job as Leslie Nielsen did. I mean, obviously in Airplane, he's a standout in that film as well. And again, it just was one of the first movies where I was like, okay, like, I can understand how this could be funny. And it was obviously it's about police force and it's a crime and all that stuff. So slightly adult, I guess, for my 7-year-old self or 8-year-old self. But, the slapstick translated, and I really, really loved it. And that's what kind of left an indelible mark in my mind when it comes to Naked Gun. And again, just, we talk about it in so many other episodes that we've had. Like, we've been shaped so much by the stuff that was just playing on TV, because we just were in front of a TV all the time, or people that were supposed to be watching us went to sleep, and then we had a TV. We had HBO. I'm sure I saw the shit out of this on HBO a million times, but I really love this. And then really close to this, obviously I love Airplane too, and I've referenced Leslie Nielsen that, but Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2 with Charlie Sheen and Carrie Elwes as Iceman, that's fantastic too. Now that one is more specifically making fun of Top Gun. It does have other like parody parts in it, like action film kind of stuff, but for the most part, it's Top Gun. But it stays focused. I think the interesting thing with Naked Gun was that it was just a movie version of a TV series, right? Like Naked Gun, The Police Files, Police Squad, which I used to watch as well. Because I was like, as a little kid, I only had access to like Nick at Night. Like I remember as a very little kid, I only had access to like Nick at Night, so I would watch all these old people shows when I was a little kid, and Police Files or Police Squad, whatever was in that. And so Naked Gun was kind of just a continuation of that spoofy vibe. Hot Shots is more in line with the Spaceballs kind of parody of an actual movie kind of a thing, and then having some topical jokes in there. But I think Naked Gun is just a singular experience, kind of like Airplane. Which, if I'm one thing I learned about Airplane recently was that it's actually a shot-for-shot remake of some other serious movie. And if you like watch that older movie, like you'll see that Airplane is actually doing the same exact thing as that movie does. Again, to go back to Naked Gun, it just was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and definitely something that I'll always remember. So,
And I have to agree with you. It's Leslie Nielsen makes that movie, and it's just because he's
oh, he's great.
so deadpan and he
His
delivers
choices.
correct. And the funny thing is, I know you brought up Airplane, which to me is also a classic. That was his first comedic role. I don't know if you know this about Leslie Nielsen. You probably have heard it somewhere, but just to share it again for the people, he was a dramatic actor. Airplane was his
Yeah,
first comedic role, and he's not the star. He's like a supporting character, but the way he delivered it, the way it worked out, he stole that movie, you know. And
yeah,
it was amazing. And again, there's just so much that happened in that movie, which you can't do today.
yeah.
And maybe that's the problem with parody movies because times are different. And yeah, with
The
Hot,
jive part thing, right? It's like,
oh,
oh yeah, I need something that speaks jive, and it's
yes,
like, yeah, like back then we laughed at that shit, right? And and
mm,
I won't get too much into present times, but and you'd mentioned Blazing Saddles earlier, but like back then we laughed. Like back then we were like, oh my god, that's really funny. And yeah, things times change. Like you're right, that movie could not be done today.
and yeah, I agree with you in Hot Shots. I feel like it's in between Spaceballs and Naked Gun, and that meaning because you're right, Naked Gun is a joke a minute. Just like you don't even need to know what happened before. There's a very minor story, but for the most part, it's just gag after gag after gag. Hot Shots has more of a story, kind of like Spaceballs, but there's still so many gags in it that I feel like it's in
Yeah.
between. Because yeah, it's not really a complete. Because to me, Spaceballs, you're right. To me, that's like a complete story, a comedic, like
Yes.
beginning, middle, and end. Where Naked Gun and even Hot Shots, like, well, there is a beginning and the middle, but then we're gonna go back and do this and this and this and this, and then
Yes.
like, and that was the point. It was just fun, like just. It was PG too. I don't know if Hot Shots was, but I believe Naked Gun, just like Spaceballs, was PG. I don't even think they were PG-13 because in a way they were made for our dumb kid minds, as you like to say. You just want,
Yep.
and the adult jokes were not over the top for
Mhm.
those movies where the adults will get it, but it's nothing that's going to be too questionable for the kids. You know what I mean? And I think that's why
Mhm.
it worked. It's something you can watch with your family, whether you like it or not. And yeah, I used to watch Hot Shot. That was on all the time. And
Oh
same
yeah,
with
dude.
Naked Gun. And I love that the Naked Gun sequels are like 2.5 and 33 and a third. Well, just because there's no reason, just that's what we're calling it.
It's
And
absurd. It's absurdism. It's absurd humor. It's silly. Like that's what it's like. Not taking yourself seriously. It's like that shit's great.
again, I go back to those 2000 movies. I know I've seen a few and I don't remember much. Yeah, they don't take themselves seriously, but they just do it in a way where I don't know. It's just not funny.
It's
Like
not.
they,
It's not smart. Like it's like the lowest common denominator, and that's not like what Spaceballs and Naked Gun and like all these other movies that we've seen. It's like I haven't seen Epic Movie, but when you rattled off all the parodies it's supposed to be doing, it's like these movies stopped being funny when it started being like just constantly talking about current events or things that were in or fads. Like they don't carry. Like they don't translate to other generations. Like Spaceballs translates to other generations. Airplane does. Regardless of whether it's appropriate or not. But like, those movies, like no one's ever gonna do a podcast about Epic Movie 10 years from now and talk about how it was like an influential and amazing movie that they saw. Like that is an abomination. But that was just it just screams cash grab. And I think that had to have contributed somewhat to this bullshit where they just suck the well dry of any humor, and then now studios look at it and go, "Ooh, I don't know, we kind of we kind of did that." Um, but I think smart, silly parody type movies that don't insult you but know that you're there to have fun, that's what I'm looking for when I watch these kind of movies.
so I want to go through a few movies in the 90s because I think that's the era where obviously we became teenagers, young adults. So we, our personalities were showing through. But in 1993, there's this movie, and National Lampoons has been around. They've done a lot of classics from Vacation, Christmas
Yeah.
Vacation. I know I'm probably Animal House, obviously going a little further back. And I think this was
Yes.
his first parody movie. And kind of like Space, because Spaceballs, you see Spaceballs, that's parodying Star Wars. Mention Hot
Mhm.
Shots, that's parodying Top Gun. Yeah, they might throw in a few other things, but that's the main parody. Even Naked Gun, yeah, Police Squad, but it's just those police kind of movies from the or
Yeah.
shows from the '60s.
Right.
You have your focus, and you don't need to. If you don't need to go off course that much, you're fine. Yes, you can do things, but so yeah, National Lampoon's got into the parody game with the movie I saw a lot, and I know you loved because I think this is on so much, and Loaded Weapon 1.
Yes.
Making fun of
So
the
hard to find.
lethal weapons here, because again, this is where it's focusing on the buddy cop trope. And obviously more so the lethal weapons, but I'm sure they threw it's been a while since I've seen it. But Emilio Estevez, a young
Oh, dude.
Samuel L. Jackson, because this is kind of like the
Yeah.
first time I think I really saw him. That I know he's been in a couple things before that, but and I still remember a few scenes. I need to go back and watch this. It has been so many years, but I still remember the opening scene, and Emilio Estevez just has a magazine, and he's flipping through, and all those stupid cards keep falling out, and then, like, I think they're getting robbed, and he's just in a pile. And as a mailman, I know those little cards, because, like, fuck, I gotta turn this magazine upside down, or I'm throwing this shit out. I don't care. I
Yeah.
love Loaded Weapon 1, and I know you
So good.
own it. You actually own it, Soda.
Yeah, I can let you borrow it.
We're gonna have to. It's
And
not free anywhere. I
this is a
looked.
DVD. It's a DVD, so I mean, you could borrow it for whatever you want. But you mentioned the scene that you remember this movie, but for some reason, and I don't know because I've seen this movie a million fucking times in my life. Um, I just remember Emilio Estevez. So he's got a trailer, right? And then when you walk inside the trailer, it's like this like palatial sort of mansion inside. It's like huge. And he hooks up with like his main love interest, and after they've consummated their thing, he like gets up in the middle of the night, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know." He's like, "I just wanted to do like my whole like walk naked at the moonlight bit," and it's like the moon was just
Yes.
shining on his ass perfectly during that scene.
Oh, I remember that now that you
It's
said
like
that.
so random. It's like, oh my god, dude! And Samuel L. Jackson is brilliant in this movie, by the way, and it is really fucking funny. And to your point, yeah, I've seen it a million times because it was on TV all the time, and it's like no matter where I turned it on in like when it was on TV, I would watch the rest of it because it was fucking funny. And it was focused. I mean, it's not these movies are not great, but sometimes it's like you just want to access funny shit, man. Like and that movie, it's a crime that you can't find weapon anywhere. I talked about loaded weapons so much around my friends that one of my friends bought me this DVD as a present once for Christmas because they were like, "Oh my god, I went to like Bull Moose in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I found a random DVD copy of Loaded Weapon 1." So that'll be headed your way.
Yeah, we'll figure out time. Maybe we'll do a screen watch together, but that's for down the
Oh
road.
my
But
god, that'd be
before we go to the
hilarious.
next one, I want to say something. After this, though, and I don't know what happened to National Lampoons because, as I said before, they had Animal House, Movie Madness,
Yeah.
Vacation. So then, yeah, Loaded Weapon 1. So, Soda, let me just read off the next National Lampoons movies that came out. And let me tell you, or let me ask you, are any of these hits? Do you even remember them? So I'm not going to go through all of them, but just the next few
Yeah.
years. Senior Trip, Golf Punks,
Mm,
Van Wilder. That might be the only one we kind of remember
did
because
see
of
Van Wilder.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, I saw Van Wilder. He was
Yes.
great in that. Mhm.
Replicate, Blackball, Jake's Booty Call, Gold Diggers,
What?
Presents Dorm Days, Barely Legal. These are all National Lampoon's movies right after
Oh,
Loaded Weapon 1. So it's funny because it's like I felt like they
wow.
hit it again. I don't know if it's up there. It's one kind of like Not Another Teen Movie. You're going to enjoy it if you like that kind of movie, but it's
Yeah.
not like But when we talk about the best, we always come up Naked Gun, Airplane, Spaceballs, blah, blah, and more to come. But right? I'm like, okay, because again, I remember laughing, but then it's just like they did all this shit, and I'm like, is this when
Yeah.
National Lampoon's cashed out? Because they're like, oh, let's try doing all this stuff. Loaded Weapon One kind of works. I think it did okay. I could be wrong, as far as
It's hard
what.
to find. It's hard to find. I don't even know who's making money off it, but it's really hard to find.
So I just quickly looked this up. It was made for 8.2. It made 51 million in the box office.
Hey,
So yeah,
you go.
so it was a success. It just I think after that, I don't know what happened to that National Lampoon name. It kind of changed. And yes, Van Wilder, I do remember enjoying. Had a few funny moments. It's not like I want to go back and watch it like Loaded Weapon One. But so,
Right.
yeah, it's just weird. It's like after this, the National Lampoon name just didn't mean as much as it used to. Um,
No, we do. We found that out at Blockbuster. We had plenty of National Lampoon duds on the main
yes.
release wall. Mhm.
But moving on into the 90s, there was one kind of in similar to Spaceballs where it's kind of just making fun of one genre, poking fun. So it kind of brought it in. But in 1997, making fun of James Bond in the 60s spy movies, we got
Yeah.
Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery. That was the first one.
Yes.
And
Mike
obviously, we
Myers.
all know there's a trilogy because then it was like the Spy Who Shagged Me and then Goldmember. So let me ask you, so I am a huge James Bond fan, and I think that's part of the reasons which I loved these movies. I could laugh at them, partly because also Michael Myers, he's funny when he's on his game. Why was this series a success?
I mean, I think it was peak Mike Myers. Like, it was. This was his. This was when he was at his like top of his Mike Myers like career. Obviously, we I think we've talked about So I Married an Axe, another one of my favorite films. I've loved Mike Myers' brand. I think that he just his joke a minute stuff, and he does this in Austin Powers, and and consistency with the character, like at his whole thing with it, and playing Doctor Evil and everything, and I think it just hit, and it was so funny. Like the jokes were really funny. Like he really thought about it. Um, 'Cause to be honest, I love Wayne's World. I'm not sure I really like Wayne's World 2. I mean, I suffer through it, I guess. Maybe it's okay. It's not as good as Wayne's World 1, which is great. But like Austin Powers, okay, yeah, sure. With sequels, they have a law of diminishing values, right? It's like they get less and less. But I enjoyed all
Right.
three. But and I probably enjoyed Spy Who Shagged Me a little bit more than the first one. I liked what's her face in it, Heather Graham.
Yes.
And there was some time travel stuff in it, but it was just like his sense of comedic timing and his jokes, which I think is so critical in these kind of movies, it just lands, right? I've never seen The Love Guru, which is like pretty much considered like his end of his career. So I'm interested to see like if the joke just got old, but this was just Mike Myers. Like, I mean, wasn't there like a scene where he's peeing, he's peeing,
That
he's
was the first one,
peeing, he's
yes.
peeing, and then he stops,
And
and
then
then he pees
he,
again. He's being, but it's like it's like that kind of messing with comedic timing because I think I heard him say once where it's like something is funny, then it's not funny, and then it ends back around to being funny if you do it long enough. And he does that in all three of these movies where you're like, okay, that's really funny. Okay, why is this joke still going on? Okay, why is this really funny again? I mean, the mole shit like with Fred Savage or whatever,
Molly, Molly,
like
Molly, Molly,
or
Molly.
Mole,
Yes.
mole, 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 mole. I still say that now. Like, I'm like, mole, mole, mole. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't listen to you. I could totally look at your mole. Like that kind of just, I don't know, aware comedic timing and the way everything was done. I mean, it was just peak Mike Myers genius, and I loved it. I kind of even talking about it right now. I want to go look for it and see it again. I would watch all three. I probably am going to be looking. I'm actually going to look on my phone right now and see where the hell this is playing. I might own it. I'm not sure, but just talking about it and remembering some of the scenes, I'm like, I definitely want to watch this again. It's so fucking funny.
So yeah, I actually thought about this movie earlier today, not for the podcast. And there's a scene. I think again, it's the first one because Elizabeth Hurley was in that one, and the scene with the cart.
Yes.
And when he's kind of turning, just back and forth, trying to get out of the position, like he goes forward a little, back a little. I
Yes.
and obviously there's been a lot of snow out here, and today was actually a nicer day, but I'm in my mail truck and the driver.
Yeah.
So I just every time I kind of do it, I know just enough how to do it. I just think of that scene like, okay, I'm gonna go a little forward, a little back, a little, and that's another scene where he pushes it so far because you're right. It's funny at first, and then if you can make it funny again, which doesn't always work,
Yes.
it makes it even better because you're just like, why is this going on so long? Because yes, the pissing scene is just hilarious when he's unfrozen. He just keeps going. I don't really remember too much of the second and third one. I think Beyonce was in the third one. I'm sure things would pop
I
back
remember
up.
I love God. Oh, like it was like John Travolta was in it. He was like eating skin. It's like, oh, he's toy like a toiga. It's stupid, like childish catchphrase shit. I guess what I'm talking about now, I'm talking about it more out loud. I'm like, am I 8 years old?
We
Like
are,
secretly right
we
now?
are,
Okay. Am I eight? Is this what I'm learning? I'm a 44-year-old, like 8-year-old. That's me right now.
and I think the one thing that not just Michael Myers' timing and comedic genius, I think he had a great supporting cast. Because Will Ferrell had some scenes, Seth Green, even for just the small moments,
Oh my
the
God, Will
right
Ferrell in the
people.
pit. Like,
I'm not
I'm very
dead.
badly injured.
I'm
I'm
still
not dead.
down here.
Oh my God. Of all the movies that we've talked about, this is one where I'm
Well,
like, I didn't watch this afterwards.
we'll talk about that later. So, but again, it had an idea, it had a premise, and it stuck to kind of one parody topic, and also was
Yeah.
original. Again, along Spaceballs, there's an original story, not a little different than the Gag a Minute, like Hot Shots or Nick Young, but still, that's why it worked. He was all in on the
Yeah.
character, and it worked, and the humor was there, and we laughed. So Soto, we want to talk about one more at the end of the '90s, unless something else pops up, and this one's going to be a mixed bag. And
Yeah.
I love South Park. I remember when it first came out
Ew.
and seeing the very first episode way back in
Mhm.
96, 97, 95. I don't even remember. I used to watch it all the time, the new episodes. I bought them on DVD up until like whatever season 10, 12. I don't even know how many. Somewhere I have so many South Park. It is such a great show. But we're not here to talk about shows. We're here to talk about parodies.
Mhm.
And Trey Parker and Matt Stone have done some films. I think outside of the South Park movie, this was kind of their first really big, I don't want to say big budget, but almost like, because I know they did a couple from Cannibal the Music, and I think they had a couple, Orgasmo as well, maybe before this. I could be wrong about the
Yes.
timing, but
Yes.
I felt like this was
Yes.
their first real big theatrical release. Outside of
They got a
anything,
lot of money.
they had
Yep.
some, yeah, but they did Basketball, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if I was just in a different place when I saw this, but I don't
Yeah.
know why Basketball did not hit with me as much. My wife gives me shit about it. She says I don't know comedy. I'm like, hey, you're probably right, but I'm laughing at all these
Have
other
you
films.
have you seen it recently? Like, have you rewatched it
I've
recently? No,
well
like knowing what
define
it is.
recently, define recently,
Like in the, like, I don't know, like in the last like 5 years.
possibly. I know me and Jill watched it, but maybe it was close to 5 to 10 years ago. Why did you love this movie, and why was it? It was a minor success too. I don't think it was a huge. I could be wrong. I don't know the amount that it made.
Well,
Uh,
I didn't like this movie when it came out. That's for sure. Uh, when I got older and started kind of getting in on the Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I felt like I was in on the joke. I think that when this movie is only going to go as far as how you understand like Trey Parker and Matt Stone's like inherent like just sense of humor. When I saw it, I thought it was okay. Um, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then again, I rediscovered it. I think in the early 2000s, with renting it at Blockbuster, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of fucking funny. And it made me laugh all the time. I wouldn't say it's like on the level of Kung Pao, but that's a different episode
another
altogether.
one I don't like.
Not everyone's cup of tea, but I can agree with Jill on this that this is like if you're into like their sense of humor, like that this is really funny. I know you saw Cannibal the musical last year, which I also find really funny as well. I mean, is this movie is it for? I mean, is it like an adolescent minded kind of film? Yeah, but it's silly and it's a great parody, I think, of sports movies in general. I think it has an awesome script. Do I think that like Team America World Police is like funnier than this? I do.
So do I. I
I
did enjoy that one.
I do laugh more at that one because it's just out of control, insane. I don't think that they leaned into, because like they push the envelope. That's always been them ever since they came out with South Park, and they're always pushing the envelope of what's appropriate, and they're at their best when they're on that line and even going beyond it. And I think that baseball didn't go enough across that, and so it kind of stayed in this weird kind of middle lane, where I think it kind of lost people. But I think that there's a lot of funny shit that's in basketball that's kind of underrated. And if you haven't watched it, and not you, but anybody who's listening, if you haven't watched this in a long time and you're a big fan of what these guys do, because they are geniuses, I would recommend rewatching this because again, it doesn't require anything of you, as long as you're going into it the mindset that this is just supposed to be silly and fun. I think it does the job. I think it's great, and again, I agree with your wife. I know what's wrong with you.
All right, so let me add in a few things here. First of all, Matt and Trey did not write this movie. They might have had some lines, but this was actually written and directed by David Zucker, who did like Airplane and stuff like
I
that.
did not know that.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking this up now. It was made for $25 million. It only made 7 at the box office, so I was wrong about that. I thought it did okay. No, it kind of bombed. But yeah, looking it up now, I am surprised. I thought and I'm sure they had some say in improv because to me, the one time I died laughing was seeing Trey Parker do Cartman's voice. Like, I don't know why seeing the actual person do the voice like that. I was laughing my ass off. And maybe I can give this another watch, but yeah, it's kind of weird now that I thought maybe, co-write or something like that. But according to Wikipedia, they do not have a writing credit to this movie. So that's kind of
Interesting.
that's kind of interesting. So maybe that's why, because I'm with you on Team America, because that pushed the envelope a
Oh,
lot.
100%.
And if you see the unrated part, or DVD, well now whatever, it pushed it even more. But it was so hilarious. Like me and Jill, I thought, like, give the signal, and I'll just be waving my hands up in the air, just something like that. But with basketball, I don't know why it missed on the mark. But yeah, maybe because they had their humor a little bit, but it's weird that they didn't have a writing credit because you could just tell that some of the characters definitely were based off. I mean, obviously based off them, but just kind of created. So I just kind of was looking that up, and I was surprised at that. But
I can't believe that they didn't write the line, those warts on your dick aren't just going to go away unless you start using cream every day. Because like he's listening to the music and the music is playing, and then it's like all of a sudden the music's like, and those warts on your dick just won't go away unless you start using cream every day. That's like,
for some reason, maybe like you, like I saw it just times. I'm like, yeah. And it's just gotten to the point where it's like, I've seen them do better. And again, this is just my opinion. You can laugh at me.
yes, and they have.
And that's fine. I accept it. Because, not everything is everyone's cup of tea, as I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later.
Especially with comedies, we've discussed comedy is subjective.
They're very, very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But so we started this whole podcast asking what happened to silly movies, what happened to parodies.
Yeah, yeah.
But this last couple years, it almost seems like they're going to try and make a comeback. We both just recently watched the new Naked Gun, 2025
New Naked Gun
with Liam Neeson. Let's talk about the new Naked Gun because we both just saw it.
Yeah.
First of all, before we get, answer the question that we started this, what were your thoughts in this movie? Because I will tell you, I was laughing. Now, maybe it was definitely weird seeing Liam Neeson, but after seeing him Ted, he nailed this role like Leslie Nielsen. But what were your initial thoughts as you were watching this movie?
Giggling throughout. For a good part of this movie, I was just sitting here just wheeze giggling, just watching this. I love the tone. I love the tonality. I loved Liam Neeson in this. The one scene at the beginning that made me really laugh is kind of, we could talk about the other parts, but I don't know why, but they're interrogating Buster Rhymes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about, oh, okay, were you really part of this bank robbery? And so they tried to go to the body cam footage, try to convince him and try to break or something like that, and it just ends up being Liam Neeson
Eating chili
like
dogs in his
chili dog
car.
thing was so funny. Like it was just like the really thing that set me about that sequence was that he eats a chili dog and he's like, I have to take a shit. And then he goes and he's like, he commandeers a restroom, and you're seeing this in his body cam point of view, and he just starts popping shots when people like, hey, there's a line for this bathroom. He's like, I don't give a fuck. I need to use this bathroom right now. And then after he's done taking a shit, uh, he proceeds to eat another chili dog. And they're like, don't eat that, don't eat that. And he's like, I had five that day. And I don't know why, but that scene, dude, like I was on my couch and it's just me and my cats, and I'm like holding myself in hysterics. Um, and so I think that for me, like it really did hit like just the nonsensical, stupid shit that Frank Drebin would get into in the original Naked Gun, and just I mean, yeah, there was like a loose plot to it, and then there was that montage, but overall, overall I will say I was pleasantly surprised, and I did giggle a lot during this movie. Like, and I use giggle because that's what I did. I was just giggling to myself watching this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was happy at the beginning. And just again, kind of like the Naked Gun, the original ones and Hot Shots, it's just those quick jokes. And if you're not paying attention, especially your first time around, you are going to miss some things that happen in the background. Like, because I did laugh at that. I laughed at the opening, which they showed in previews anyways, with him, being the little
Oh
girl
yes.
pulling off the mask. And then it's
Mhm.
just like little things. Like I noticed the scene, like there, one guy is putting on his glove for the scene, but then he touches everything with his other hand.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
just little things like that. Like I get it. And we kind of talked about this. What does this movie do? It pushes a joke to the point where it gets annoying. Pamela
Yes.
Anderson singing. At first, you're like laughing. You're like,
Oh
all
my
right,
god, I
this is
know.
getting so long and annoying. Then you're like, all right, what's going on? And you're laughing at it.
She's scatting. She's scatting. It's like oh, like she's gonna break us out. She has some song. No, she's terrible, and it's like scat, and it's awful.
Uh,
Just,
I will admit, I was a little worried at first seeing her in. She was perfect. She was perfect to play off
she's
Liam
great.
Neeson.
She's awesome.
I was.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. I don't know what happened, but I'm loving Pam Anderson in this movie. She is fucking hilarious. Dave
Dude.
Bautista, just when he comes in.
Randomly, he's like, you did a good job, Dave.
Oh, thanks, man.
He's
And
like,
then
I
he's
was really
getting
nervous.
like beat up in the background. But they paid homage to the original, gave it kind of
Yes.
a new story, but just they did what they made the original funny. It's just quick jokes. Don't think about it. Have fun. Him and Pam Anderson, up north wherever they're at with the fucking snowman, like
Randomly.
randomly they're getting
Listening to Starship, yeah. Like the song from Mannequin, just be like
yes,
having their own like love affair, and then a fucking snowman gets involved, and it takes a turn.
and, and then they pull off the Joker Men in Tights with the shadow, the turkey dinner scene, where it's like the
Yes.
shadow, like the different positions, and with the dog. Again, just
Which is Austin Powers did that too. Yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
I forgot
Yeah.
Austin Powers did it too. The original to me was always Men in Tights, more so with the sword and anyhow, but I loved it,
They
and
did
it
it with
did.
they did it with thermal imaging, which was different, not shadows. So that, I was like, all
That's
right.
true. That's true. But the idea is the same. But again, this is a movie where, if it was on and I had nothing else going on, I would put it on the background. I would laugh at it again. It
Oh
did
yeah.
what it was supposed to do. And
Yeah.
Liam Neeson was perfect for this, just kind of like Leslie Nielsen. Um, I don't want to say it's definitely not as good as the original, but it's fine.
No,
It's up there.
it's
You know,
it's
it
perfectly
does what it's
fine. I
supposed to
mean,
do.
he's got the deadpan thing, right?
Yes.
With a little bit more funny. He's done some funnier stuff. I don't know if you've seen his scene with Ted where
Yes.
he's talking about Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charm.
Like
Yes.
that shit is fucking hilarious. Like so, he's always had this kind of like timing to it. I think he's probably a little bit more trying to be funny than Leslie Nielsen.
That, yeah.
Um, you can tell he's like leaning into some of this stuff, but Yeah, again, I thought he was really funny. And to your point, Pam Anderson was such a nice surprise, and it all worked. And you know what? It was the you and I talked about it. It was the perfect length.
Yeah, because it was just like under 90 minutes, if I remember correctly. Um,
80,
or
86
something,
minutes.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what these movies should be. You should not be 2 hours. You know, if you're a comedy like
No,
this, just get to the point. No,
get
and
there.
you don't need you don't need a story. You know, just have the
No.
basic premise and just go. That's what these movies are meant to be. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I know I texted you right away, like 5 minutes in. I'm like, I'm in this. I'm loving this. You know, I was just sitting back. I'm laughing. I'm like, this is great. Um,
It was so funny, dude. It was so there's so many more. I probably will rewatch it because there are some moments that are just really funny. And with these silly movies, like these scenes become your favorites, and then you look forward to seeing them again and then re-laughing at them again. I think that's what really makes a good silly movie is that you're like, I know what's gonna happen and I can't wait to laugh.
yeah, or something else you miss that happens in the background. Because again, kind of like the
Yeah.
original, again, so much happens, and some of them just happen quick. You know, if you blink, you turn to someone, you this and that, just you will miss it. So, but Soto, now to bring this all full circle, here's the
Yeah.
question: we kind of asked in the beginning what happened to parody movies because it seemed like
Hmm.
for almost whatever 20 some odd years, they haven't been good. They've been around, but they've been those shitty cash-ins. You know, whatever heat of the moment. What's the pop of the moment? Superheroes. You know, we talk about epic disasters. With
Topical.
that too, with what we just
Hmm.
saw in Naked Gun, with the
Hmm.
fact that Scary Movie 6 is coming out, going back to R rated, what made it good and different than a lot of the other parody films. And I feel like there might be other things coming out that I can't even think about. But what are your thoughts? What are your hopes for parody movies going forward? Is this something
I
that,
hope that yeah, I hope that this could be. I hope that it's done in the way that Naked Gun was done. And if Scream 6 is going to be kind of done, or I'm sorry, Scary Movie 6 is done in that way, where it's, I think Liam Neeson also makes this joke too, where it's like, I want to do the same thing, but then I want to have my own twist and have it be my own thing. It's like, if they could just do that kind of thing where it's like paying homage, but then giving it, putting their own spin on it, putting their own humor, I think that I could easily see a comeback. And I hope that they do come back because there's only so many fucking times that I can watch a movie like Oppenheimer or some shit where I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a 3 hour movie about how this guy created the nuclear bomb. I, Sorry, man. Like, I don't really want to watch movies like that all the time. Sometimes it's a Saturday night, I got nothing else going on, and I just want to put something on. And I've had a tough day at work. Maybe I've had a tough day at work, like, for the whole entire week, and I just want to unwind. I just want to put something on and I just want to laugh. That's it. I don't want to think about shit. I don't want to wonder, like, oh, wow, look at all this three-act structure and all this shit that happened. Sometimes I don't feel that way. Yeah, of course, there are times when I do, but sometimes I just want to turn my brain off and I just want to laugh. And I hope that that's the direction that it keeps going into. I hope that these movies continue to make money. I hope that they see the success of Naked Gun and they go, okay, cool. This is something that can work so long as it's done the right way. I hope that's what happens because I'd love to see this genre come back.
same? And yeah, so yeah, Naked Gun came out last year. Like I said, Scary Movie 6 looks like a June 12th, 2026 release. And we got Spaceballs
Oh,
2 coming out in 2027. So these are some heavy hitters
cool.
from the past that, you know what, if they do well, like I said, I laughed at Naked Gun. Scary Movie 6, there's kind of new material. And if the Waynes, if they're all coming back, I'll see it. I'm not going to theaters to see it, but you know what, I'll check it out. And I know I'll check out
Same.
Spaceball too. So I have hope. I do have hope that it's definitely gotten better. This is the direction it needs to stay. You don't need to consistently cash in. At the time, obviously, direct to DVD movies as well. That's pretty much what they were. Um, but yeah, so there's good. With what I saw with the new Naked Gun, I am happy. And like I said, I have hope for Spaceballs too. And we'll see. We'll just see what happens. Just don't make all those shitty ones again. Do not kill this genre
Oh,
again because it can be
no.
done correctly. Yeah, more for modern times, but you can still make a good parody. Just be silly. That's all you gotta
Mhm.
do. So,
Yeah, that's it.
all right. So that should end our topic for today. To what happened to parody movies. I think we kind of answered where they went wrong, why they were great in the 80s and 90s, and hopefully have some things to look forward to coming up. So,
Yeah, definitely.
this and that. I think we answered the question. Now we just got to see where they go. So until next time, may the Schwartz be with you.
Picked a bad day to stop sniffing glue.